So, I'm a little tired. I did not get enough sleep last night. Um, there won't be a video tomorrow. So, an hour of video every day is a very grueling pace. Okay. But yesterday, when I finished the video, I was very excited. And I already had burning ideas about how to fix this kind of weird behavior. And I deliberately didn't touch the code because I wanted to do it live on camera. And so, to catch you all up, we're creating this demo. If you focus on the red car here, and there's a little green person here. If you're watching this on mobile, you probably won't be able to see the person. Now, the red car has some different behavior than all the other cars. The other cars are, obviously, quite a work in progress. The red car goes to the mall, and there's a little dude inside that goes to the mall. Okay. So, I already kind of know what I want to do here. So, I'll just quickly go over the code. So, this code is very terse and difficult to read. It's very unlike other kinds of code where, things are more natural. So I apologize if this code is extremely confusing to everyone, and it should be. If you're not confused by this, then you're... I don't know. Maybe an AI is not confused by this. Claude 3 is not confused by this. Claude 3 is amazing. I'm very worried about Claude 3. That's or 3.5, I mean. That's a next level. Okay. Okay, so Claude 3.5 gave me this code. And people have this debate about AI in programming. Is it a good thing? Some people think that it introduces a lot more errors. It certainly saves a lot of time. And my opinion is that we were already making all these errors because, human beings are imperfect. And there will never be an AI that's truly perfect. Okay. So, what's going on here is these cars are following this path, and they have a virtual wall, which is the edges of the road. And they're not supposed to cross the wall, but due to a glitch, they do cross the wall, and then once they're on the other side of the wall, then they're stuck. And there might be another issue related to the ends of the path that they seem to get stuck there. But let's focus on the walls. So here we are looking for the collision between where the car is going in this frame and the wall. So those are two lines, and we look at the distance between those lines. I'm not going to whiteboard it out. Maybe I will if we get to whiteboarding later in the program. But, there's a way to visualize it that will make a lot more sense. Okay. And then Claude 3 is recording that a collision was found, and it's breaking from the loop. So it only looks for one collision. And it gets this collision normal, which is like a direction. Well, let's take a look here. maybe I will whiteboard this because, I need to visualize what's actually going on here. But a normal... Good Lord. I'm going to have to visualize this. But the thing that I've been itching to do, so I'm just going to do this now, is I'm just going to comment out this section. I feel like I do need to understand what's going on here. Why is it reflecting? That doesn't make any sense to me. But I just want to comment out this part of the code because I think that that's overcomplicated. And I don't understand what purpose it's handling. I just want the cars to... and Claude said that that they're bouncing off the walls, which is not actually the behavior that I want. So it's like a ball bouncing, I guess, and they get the normal of the collision, which I don't know if that's just the perpendicular to the spline, or if that's something else. And somehow it bounces off. Oh, I think I kind of understand. But let's just see what happens if we comment out this bit of code here. Okay. Hey. They're kind of like following an ideal racing line. So if you notice within the segment, the cars are kind of aligning themselves along the wall, and they're following the ideal racing line, like in a racing game. So you try to get to inside the curve. That's very cool. Now, are these cars getting on the other side of the wall? Yes, they are. Okay. So we still have this problem. But let's just take a look at some other things. I thought I had another idea. And I don't understand how they can travel in the direction that they're not pointing. Because we set up a rotation value, and we're computing this, unless we're computing this in the wrong way, which we may be. We're computing this. Let's see how we use it. Okay. Here we're using the tangent to the spline, which should be the direction that the car is actually going in. We're using it the same way here. Now, atan2 is a function in game programming where you have some vector that's pointing in a direction. It's up, down, left, right. And you use the x and y to get the rotation around the vector. And I think I am going to whiteboard this because I think that it'll benefit a lot of people. Some people say that they're visual learners. I think that probably everyone's kind of a visual learner. And so with the atan2 function, for some reason we have to put these in reverse order. We have to give y first and then x. And maybe what I could do, since this is a game engine, I can put in some functions that are more convenient. I can make a function that's like, for this vector, give me the angle. and it just takes the vector and it calls atan2 internally, and it knows to put the y first. I don't know why it's the y first. I mean, I guess I kind of like understand that it comes from math and that there's basically this is a division sign. So it's like y over x, and then you do arctan on that. Okay. So let's try to visualize this, because I think that people will really benefit from that. Okay. So the agent is going to march along the blue path until it hits a red wall. Now here there's a line segment of a red wall that's part of a computed curve. And this function here, line distance, looks for the distance between two lines. So if we have one line here, one line here. Now, when I say line, I actually mean line segment. So these lines have a start point and an end point. And there's two of them. And what we want to know is what is the minimum distance between these two lines. So we have two lines, line A, line B. They're line segments, so they have two endpoints. And if the lines are like this, then the minimum distance is between the two ends that are closest. But if the lines are like this, then the minimum distance is somewhere along line B. You can label them. So this one is going to be B. And this one is going to be A. Now, this rather complicated algorithm, where did I put it? That we borrowed from the old game, line distance. It looks at the two line segments, A and B. And boy, it does something very complicated and math heavy that is hard to understand. So this if statement is handling the case where the two endpoints are the closest points. And then this down here, this is what really gets, oh my god. This overlap only possible with... So we don't have to understand this algorithm, because I'm fairly confident that it's working correctly based on that it's from the old game, so it's battle tested, and based on the fact that when we look at the animation, that part looks like it's working correctly. Now they're glitching across the walls, and I think that that has to do with how the collision avoidance is implemented. So this part with the lines is detecting a collision between the cars and the wall. And let's look back in the code here. So it's detecting is the distance between the two lines. One line is where the vehicle wants to travel in this frame, and the other line is the wall of the road. And we're looking for the distance between the two lines, and if it's smaller than this hitbox radius, which is the size of the car, then we think that there's going to be a collision, and we want the car. So I think that we want the car to go this way. And actually what's going to happen is, so there's kind of like a little bit of space inside the wall because of the hitbox radius of the car. So what's actually going to happen is, before the car gets even very close to the wall, it'll see that its hitbox radius is, within the margin, and it will. What I want to happen is that it veers off this way, so it goes tangent to the wall. And I think what Claude is doing is it's having it reflect, so it kind of bounces like a ball. So it figures out this normal vector. We've got a normal vector that's pointing this way. That's normal to the wall, I think. Actually, looking at the code, it's normal to the perpendicular between P2 and P1. P2 is the... Oh, no. Oh, okay, so it is normal to the wall, so it's perpendicular to the wall. And it's bouncing off, so it's doing a reflection. Now, I just remembered that there was another idea that I had, which is next post. I was thinking we could have a next post for collisions, which is just twice as long as the car intends to travel within the frame. And then, how do we use next post? Next post for collisions. Yes, okay. And I was thinking that, if we multiply it by 2, what I think is happening maybe is that the cars can get infinitely close to the barrier, so they can get like an epsilon distance close to the barrier. And then there's a chance for them to cross the barrier. And it seems like that opportunity happens when the car is going straight. So it's going kind of tangent to the path, and it gets infinitely closer to the wall, to the barrier, and then when it gets too close, it flips onto the other side, and now it's kind of trapped on the other side. Okay. Now, I don't understand why C++ has this frustrating problem. So because there's a vector involved here, we cannot multiply by the integer value 2, because for some reason C++ can't figure out how to do the conversion. So we have to do .f, and it's just annoying. Okay. Now, the next thing is, instead of doing a... Yes. Instead of thinking about this collision normal, we actually want the collision tangent. Collision tangent equals... Yes, basically. But I think that there's... somehow we have to, like, detect if the tangent is pointing in the wrong direction. Yes. Okay, and AI is suggesting to use the dot product, which makes sense. And then here, for handling the collision... No, not a reflection. Slide along the road. Yes. Well, we really just want to vec3 and tangent equals... Did we normalize it? Oh, I guess it is normalized. Okay. So, vec3 v travel. Or maybe we just go straight to collision tangent times travel. Yes, that makes sense to me. Okay. Well, that actually looks very good. They are going to get bunched up at the end of the wall. I know how to fix that. I'll get to that in just a second. Yes. It looks like they're following the wall just fine. That, the rotation is still wrong. It looks like they're trying to rotate. Okay. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to look at is this bunching behavior at the end. And I already kind of know what the problem is. Let me just look at the animation. Seem to be less likely to bunch up at the bottom, but it looks like they do cross the wall. So what we can do here is negative 290, negative 290, and then adding new agents, negative 290, 290, 290, 290. So what I'm doing is, I think that the bunching behavior happens because what happens is the cars get to the end. It seems like it happens more on this end. That's where it starts, I think. And the cars get bunched together, or they're not bunching together, they're bunching on the wall. So they get stuck on the wall because their target point is on the wall. So what I'm going to do is, you know what, this might be too much. Let me put this in a global variable. So vec3 endpoint 1 equals vec3, and we're just going to change this to 295. Let's try 295. And I think that will be... So we were doing 29. Okay. Vec3 new targ. equals endpoint 1, and endpoint 1 is the positive one. Then new targ equals endpoint 2, new targ. And now down here, new car loc equals endpoint 2, I think, and endpoint 1. And it looks like every other car, we're trying to do the opposite. So we can make this endpoint 1 and this endpoint 2. Okay. Now we get to see how do they behave at the end. This seems worse. So do they get to the end? Let's see. These cars actually look like they kind of get stuck outside, maybe? No. No, I think that they're stuck inside. Let's bump up the hitbox. And we kind of have to find a point precisely inside. So let's actually use the spline. So, down here in the initialization, endpoint 1 equals evaluate spline, and we can just get 9.5 kind of at the end. Point 2. Great. So now it'll be along the road spline. Oh, not past splines 2, but rather road spline, comma. This looks good. That looks pretty good. Rotation's obviously wrong. Oh, it's still bunching. Very frustrating. They do not reach the target. Huh. Okay. So, according to... Oh, we do see some. 360 reach target. Are they reaching the target over and over again? Let me make sure I've reasoned correctly, because maybe they're just assigning themselves the same target over and over again, although it looks like it's only this one entity, 360. So let's figure out what's going on here. So printf And I actually want to know the travel too. Travel. Okay. Let's only do this if distance is less than 5. So these are the cars that are close to the target. So nothing yet. Nobody's reached the target yet. This red car is going to reach the target in just a second. There we go. Okay. Maybe I should have stopped that at 1 agent because this would be easier to read. Let's see how far we can scroll back here. How do I scroll back? Why do I have a function to make things capitalized? That's not really very useful to me. I guess I'll just have to scroll back with the mouse. And you know what? I'm just going to rerun it. So we're watching this red car. I think that's the first one. Okay. So it looks like it's somehow having some difficulty getting closer than 3. The travel is on the order of a meter, maybe 1.5 meters in some places. I'm surprised that it varies that much. I guess my frame rate is quite unstable right now, so the duration value is probably fluctuating a lot. But we can see it gets down to close to 3, and that's what I was noticing with the other ones. So okay, that's enough. Well, it's traveling more than it's making progress on the distance. So that's interesting. Yes, they are colliding. It seems like they're kind of colliding all the time, actually, because they pretty much always want to be close to the center of the road, and so they just collide a lot. Let's see if we can get back up here. Okay, so here there's only 1 agent. Starts at a distance 4.5, and it gets down to 3, and then it kind of bounces around a little bit. On the collision, oh, this is hard to read. Okay, collision tangent, and then where it's decided to go. So that's 17 to 74. Dust is 12 to 76. It collides with something. It seems like it's awfully close to its target. Well, I guess it's 5 away. Okay, so this is where it goes. Oops. Let's look at this one. Jeez. collision. Okay. Okay. So we have what I've been doing is I'm trying to move the endpoint that the cars are going to be inside of the polygon as opposed to on the edge of the polygon, because I think that that will fix this bunching behavior. But I'm discovering that something a little stranger is going on. So let's see what's going on here. So we have a car that's getting close to the target, and it's riding along this wall. It has a hitbox. It doesn't get too close to the wall, but it rides along the wall and it rides tangent to the wall. And the car wants to go here. Now, maybe I messed up and the destination is actually not inside of the polygon. So that's one of the things that I'm considering investigating. So that when the car does this, because it's against the wall, it's hitting the collision detection, and so the collision detection is converting into a tangent vector. You know, I noticed that if the car is riding along this kind of a curve, then the tangent vector is always going to bring the car further into the wall. I guess what would happen is, because these lines aren't actually curved, they're actually just straight lines. What did I do here? So to the computer, what's actually going on is there's two sharp lines and there's kind of like an angle here. So as the car is going along, it's going tangent to this wall, and then it gets to the point where the desired path is colliding with the second wall, and we're giving a tangent vector. Now it seems like the car actually could keep riding closer and closer into the wall, and there's kind of nothing that pushes it away, actually. So let's just go back and look at the simulation. Yes, I've set the hitbox to 3, but it looks like they do get much too close to the wall. And they kind of, I think that kind of nothing pushes them away from the wall, so they just get stuck. Okay. Well, that's actually easy to fix. So we have the normal. And let's also keep a collision distance. Okay. Then if there's a collision, slide along the road and keep some distance. Okay. And what we're going to do is we'll mix together the tangent and the normal. And let's see. So collision dist is greater than travel. Collision dist equals travel. So we don't want to travel. If the maybe I'll come back to whiteboarding and explain it. AI got this wrong. We want the collision tangent times slide dist plus collision normal times collision dist. We actually want to collision dist minus equals the hitbox radius. Wait, hold on a second. I think we need a negative sign somewhere here. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to say collision dist equals 0.1. So what I'm calling collision dist, maybe this is a different, I need a new name for this concept, is, how far into the wall is the car? If it's too far into the wall, we want to push it back a little bit. So let's just try this and see what it looks like. I think this needs to be a negative sign here. Okay. Cool. Still getting that bunching. The distance is much smaller now. Oh, and now they are reaching their targets, but they're not going backwards. Maybe I just... Did I get this wrong? This should be 2, this should be 1. Let's actually make this a ternary. Post.y is greater than 0, endpoint 1, otherwise endpoint 2. Okay. Okay, this is looking good. Look at that. Look at that. So the cars are going to one end of the road, and then they're bouncing back and they're going to the other end. And the mistake I made was when the cars were getting to the end, it was just saying, so the car was at endpoint 1, and the game was saying, go back to endpoint 1. Well, it was already at endpoint 1, so it just stayed there. So I just swapped endpoint 1 and endpoint 2. It's easy to do, especially because I'm doing this by evaluating the spline so that we make sure that it's inside the road. And probably this one should have been 0.5 and this one should have been 0.95. Whatever, it works. Now let's just take a look at this right now. I don't understand what's going on with the rotation. Continue to be mystified. Because it seems like it should just be, the correct rotation. They're not colliding with each other, so they're not looking at each other. Now, before, we were able to get to a lot of agents without getting anything in terms of a performance cost. Now, again, we're not getting the performance that we want, but I don't think that that's related to the agents, because if you look when the game starts and there's nothing going on, we're still getting kind of this 40-50 range. And yesterday we were testing, we had like 2,000 agents at one point, and everything seemed kind of fine. In the old game, it really seemed like the limit was 60,000. That was the barrier that I wasn't able to get past. But this actually kind of works, doesn't it? That's pretty good. I'm just gonna soak it in for a second. And we can try to look at this rotation and figure out what's going wrong. Because it seems like the rotation should just be whatever move the car made. Let's see. Are we modifying posts in any place? Nope. We could even make this a constant, I think. And next post, in the case of a collision, which seems to be where the problem is coming from, I'm not sure. It looks like the vehicles are pointed in the right direction here. I wonder if P travel. I can do a little bit of empirical engineering, guess and checking here. Let's comment out some of this debugging. I think we get the point. It looks like it's working correctly. Actually, I should do a commit. Better agent behavior. Yesterday we had weird agent behavior. So that's with a negative sign. That doesn't seem to be more correct. They're not 90 degrees or 180 degrees from their target. The reason why I thought maybe it was a negative sign is because, you know, it looks like they're kind of turning in the wrong direction, like it's reflected direction. Like this one should be pointing up here. When they're coming down, it looks like they start out kind of all right. It looks like they're just pointing too much into the road. It's like the rotation seems to be based on... Yeah, this is really weird. Because the movement is correct, but the rotation is wrong. I don't understand what's going on. Let's look closely at this behavior here. This rotation vector just is nowhere close to correct, actually. So, just to help us reason about this, what if the rotation vector was just pointing to where the car wants to go, which is n vector? Okay, so we want to set the rotation vector to n vector dot y, n vector dot x. And I think that we want to keep this minus 90 degrees. Well, that's bizarre. That's not anything close to correct. When it's going downwards, it looks more correct. Hmm. When it's going upwards, it's just way off. How are we using this rotation? That looks fine. Let's look at some correct code. So the red car follows a different algorithm. If you look closely, it's this car. And that one looks like it's getting, everything correct. So here I'm setting the car rotation. This is tangent to the spline of the road. Let me restart so that there aren't so many agents to get in the way. And we're just looking at this red car here. And it's following the spline of the road, tangent to the spline. So we normalize it. Down here, we're determining the tangent for the agent behavior. Let's just do some empirical engineering here. it kind of feels like we're getting the same behavior over and over again. Very frustrating. So the car looks like it's pointing in this way, or it might be pointing this way because it might be backwards. The ones going downwards, they look, close to correct. They're just pointing straight down because that's kind of where they're going. So it's really only the upwards direction that's wrong. And now I know I could get the behavior that I wanted by looking up the road spline and trying to figure out where the car is along the road spline, and then getting a tangent vector to that. And that's basically how we did it in the old game. But I feel like, in principle, the car's vector should basically be the movement that the car made. And we might smooth that so that it looks like the car rotates over time, so it looks natural. What is going on? So I have kind of two options. I can do some whiteboarding. I feel like I've kind of done the whiteboarding, and I don't have my answers. So my second option is to just ask AI again. Hey AI, what am I doing wrong here? A third option is, it's possible that I'm doing something wrong in the database. So the database keeps having us trouble, giving us trouble here. I apologize. I'm very tired today. I did not sleep well last night. Or I stayed up too late. I guess I was excited about what I'm doing here. So here, what if, because we can ask this question, what if the problem is in the way that we're doing storing things in the database? So we can get hard down here. We can get the targ, and then the n vector, and then the rotation. So we can calculate the rotation when we're doing drawing, because maybe something's going wrong in the database. This looks more correct. So another option is we can store the last travel. And then when we update the position, agent last travel here, and then we're actually going to write to it C agent last travel. Don't we write to the position down here? C agent last travel is v travel. So instead of doing this calculation in the update, we're storing the calculation in the database, I don't know why the rotation, why the rotation would be getting messed up as it's going through the database. I don't know why that would be happening. But we can try looking at the last travel when we're drawing. So now our third approach is ep3 travel, and then the route is based on the last travel. Oh! So it needs a little bit of smoothing, but that looks very good. Wow, that looks really good. I'm just going to go ahead and implement the smoothing because we're already storing the last travel. So, C agent last travel. So, B travel smoothed. Let's actually store the last travel. Great. Effect 3. Next post smoothed. And then smoothed. Yes. Oh my goodness. Have to put the letter F everywhere in C++ because of GLM. Okay. That actually looks really good. Look at that. That looks very natural. Now I know that they do get a little bit too close to the walls here. So we can fix this by and I'm actually just going to ask Claude real quick. Slide along the road and keep some distance from the collision. Okay. So I don't think we need to do this part here. Doesn't this look great? Wow, look at that. No, they're not colliding with each other. They even U-turn. Isn't that great? Wow. That's very nice. They're all rotating correctly. They kind of follow an ideal racing path. Now, again, they don't collide with each other, right? That's okay. Look at that. I'm just going to bask in this for a second. Isn't that nice? We are going to start implementing some collision avoidance with each other. And I might put a cap on the number of agents because it'll get too crazy. And we're really not worrying about performance right now because we're doing this in a way that I think we can optimize. I'm optimistic about that. And, they say that premature optimization is the root of all evil. So I really shouldn't be thinking too much about performance. I should be planning ahead and doing this in a way that I think can be optimized. Wow, ain't that great?